Hello, everybody, and how are we all doing there this week? I hope you've all had a good bank holiday weekend, although it doesn't really feel much different than a normal weekend at the minute, really, in that we're all probably sort of been inside. It's very grey here today while I'm filming this. My hair is also a lot longer than last week as well, so who knows what it is going to be like the time I can get it cut again. So this week we are focusing on scripts, so sort of continuing on from looking at different forms. So we've had poetry, we've had prose, we had creative non-fiction last week, and now we are looking at scripts. So quick overview for the guys who may not have done anything on scripts before, because I know we had our writing performance course last summer, so some of you may have attended that, and so you've already had a little bit of work on this. So the main sort of different scripts we can have are, so you can have a radio play, which is obviously wrote specifically for the radio play, and it will be sort of performed by various different voice actors to be played out over the radio. You can have a television or a film script, or you can have something like we also looked at, which is sort of like a podcasting script as well, which is also purely an audio format but differs slightly to a radio play. So I thought it might be quite fun today to have a look at a TV script, guys, and just have a look at sort of the main differences in the writing in terms of how this differs from sort of prose, for example, and what you guys can do if you fancy to having a go at attempting one of these. So I have prepared, well, I haven't actually prepared, I found it, I haven't wrote this myself. This is one of Helen's favourite shows. It is Line of Duty, also one of my favourite shows, and it may well be some of your guys' favourite shows. So this is episode 1 from season 3, I believe. So I've got the script up here, so I'll just quickly flip round to that now for you. Right then, guys, so this is the opening to episode 1 from season 3 of Line of Duty. So I will go ahead and quickly read this out for you. Cut to black. Internal. South Ferry Station. Briefing room. Day. We cut straight into the bustle of a briefing. There's an audience of 17 police officers, all in uniform. 1 inspector and 2 sergeants plus 14 PCs. Many still getting their bulletproof jackets on, 1 or 2 still filling in at the back to make the total number. Enter the Strategic Firearms Commander, SFC, Terry Reynolds. Behind him, a screen that shows the city map. Uniform officers all stand to attention as he enters. He signals them to sit. Okay, thank you. A uniformed, bulletproof vested sergeant sits near the front, making notes in a pad with an air of cool professionalism. This is Sergeant Danny Waldron. So that was just a very brief opening from the Line of Duty episode 1 of season 3, guys. So a few bits to sort of pick out there. The main sort of difference you're going to have in a script as opposed to sort of writing prose, non-fiction or poetry is the amount of level of detail in there. So in a script it's going to be a lot more broader and a lot less detailed. That's going to give sort of more room for the director and that to play around with. So if we look at that initial bit there, so it's quite specific. So 17 police officers all in uniform, 1 inspector, 2 sergeants and 14 PCs. So it's specific in terms of who's there, but it's not necessarily saying how they're all differently dressed, you know. Whereas the start to a short story, you might really describe the inspector's uniform, show how this sort of makes him appear different to his sort of subordinates. There's the little bit about the bulletproof jacket, so that sort of gives you the idea that something sort of serious is going to happen, you know. They're not sort of just having a regular meeting. That sort of gives you a lot of the impression, oh God, something really is about to happen here, but it doesn't really go into too much other than that. You're given sort of a couple of names of key people here, and one sort of bit that I liked here, and this is the sort of tone that you can kind of get with a lot of scripts, that rather than describing a character in massive detail, so we've got Sergeant Danny Waldron mentioned at the end, he's making notes in a pad with an air of cool professionalism, and it sounds a bit more relaxed than something that you might sort of initially write in prose and that, but it gives you that sort of idea, a cool professionalism. So, you know, is he sort of like a likeable character? He kind of appears quite relaxed, but it's not necessarily 2 words you would put together in a story in that. So that's something you can sort of play about with in a script, in that you don't have to go into as much detail. You don't have to say every specific thing that is happening in that room. It's there to kind of just give you a nice big overview. And just another like sort of really important tip that I was given, so sometimes when you're thinking there's a lot less detail, you might be sort of more inclined to then shift to sort of a more dialogue heavy approach to sort of tell the scene, but it's still very important to have the image, as it is going to be a visual television script in this instance, to have the image carrying a lot of the story as well. So one thing that I was always told is that you shouldn't be able to know, so if you're in the kitchen doing your dishes and you've got the TV on in the living room, you shouldn't really be able to know exactly what's going on just by hearing that. You should be able to, you need to sort of see that as well. So in that opening bit there where they've got the many still getting their bulletproof jackets on, and that's not something you're able to hear, but seeing that sort of really encompasses what sort of thing they're about to go into. It's not just sort of a regular meeting, this is going to be a really tough operation. So those sort of important details in the visual image that you're creating really need to carry it as well, and not just your dialogue and that. Okay then guys, so the last bit I want to look at with you quickly here is sort of the layout and formatting options. So some of you might be looking at this and thinking, well, there's a lot going on here, I'm not too sure of these different rules and formatting bits, but the few main bits to remember are each new scene needs to start off with a heading at the top. So here we have got internal, South Ferry Station, so you have that whether it's inside or outside, the location, which is the South Ferry Police Station. Then you would say the specific room inside of that. So this is the briefing room, and whether or not it's happening at day or night. So we might also have internal York St John, Core Dukes 004, because we all know and love that room, and also whether it is taking place at day or night. So that is always what you need at the start of a scene. The next one is when a character appears for the first time within the action. So when you've got Enter the Strategic Firearms Commander Terry Reynolds, his name is in capitals there, and you can see further down as well, this is Sergeant Danny Waldron. The next two times those guys are mentioned within the action, their name wouldn't be in capitals. And the last little bit here is that your dialogue is always centered off into the middle of the page. So the character's name is dead center. Their name, when they are used as a dialogue to denote the speaker, is always in capitals. So if you can see here, it's just Reynolds there. So that is always going to be in capitals, but it will be centered. So I'll just scroll down very briefly for you here. So the next time he is mentioned within the action, so Reynolds leads the 17 uniform officers, his name is just written normally. So when it's in the middle and it's denoting the speaker, it is in capitals. The rest of the time it's only used as capitals when they are first introduced. So they're sort of the main sort of aspects of what you want to remember in terms of formatting, but don't get too caught up in that, guys. The main sort of bit is your content of your writing. That is the very most important bit.